There we go.
There we go.
Here we go.
Oh, nice.
I'm getting the flashing red emblem in the upper left, which means we are live. And I was hoping that everybody would do as you normally do, which is welcome to all of our friends and family here on the Blurb channel. As you will see, I am not alone. We have a special guest today, but before I introduce her, I want to make sure that everybody is using the chat. Write in where you're tuning in from. Always curious about where you are. We've got France, we've got Australia, we've got Seattle, Santa Barbara, Charlotte, India. Rick is a regular here on the channel. Cyrus is another regular from Seattle. So we got a lot of people from the home city of Blurb's parent company, RPI. But we're going to give it a couple more minutes for people to show up. And then I'm going to intro Ann, who's with us today, and I'm going to give you a rundown of what we're actually going to do over the next hour and a half or hour and 15 or whatever it's going to be. And I'm just taking a look here at the list. Portugal. That's kind of a new one. Portugal, Athens, Georgia, Roswell, Georgia. What's up with the Georgia concentration all of a sudden? I don't know. Maybe there was a coupon that went out in Georgia. Wow, there's a ton of Australians on the call, which is interesting because our guest is from a relatively close area. And once she starts speaking, you will hear the accent and you will know.
Forgot about that.
It's a good accent, though. It's definitely good. But talking about accents, we've got yours. We've got Australia. We've got Georgia has a pretty serious accent. There's no doubt about that. North Carolina's got a good accent. Rio. Wow, this is really impressive. I'm glad everybody's here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you all for being here. There's a couple of other people we need to thank as well. Behind the scenes, there's two people that you can't see, Michelle and Air, and there is no way that Ann and I would be sitting here without Michelle and Air. They are sort of the backbone of all these online events, and they are basically the producers of what we're doing right now. So we got to give a thanks to those two. I'm Dan Milnor, Blurb's creative ambassador, and our guest today is Ann Orman, who's a photographer in New Zealand. And she gets the award, I think, for coming the farthest, even though we're not really moving. I'm giving her the award anyway. So Ann, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in New York at the moment, enjoying myself
Nice.
at the house of some friends. There's a couple of things that I want to go over here for everybody, so you know what we're doing. The first thing that we're going to do is that Ann and I are going to have a conversation about photography and about books and a little bit about Blurb. Then I'm going to open up the second part of the presentation. I'm going to open up the Blurb software. I'm going to import a folder of Ann's images, and we are going to design a book together. And basically, we're going to design a book of her travel images and talk about what we're doing while we're doing it. There's a couple of things that I want to give people a heads up on about, which are some of the things that are coming up in the future. And that is, let's see here. These are the next series of programs that we're going to do after tonight. The next one is Why We Make Books, On Story, Craft, and Connection. That's October 2nd, if you want to write these down or put them on your calendar. The next one is The Edit, but we're going to focus on culling images. It's going to be about editing images. I'm going to be editing the work of other groups of people and showing you how I cut people's work down. And that's on October 23rd. And the last one is The Edit, but we're going to focus on sequencing. And I'm going to take a body of work from other people, multiple other people, and I'm going to sequence that work into how I would put that in a book. And that's on November 3rd. Okay, the one last thing before we start with Ann is we have a code for everyone that's on this call. It is only good for 1 month. Now, if it was up to me, because I'm mean, and you can see the code right here, Travel Book 30 to get 30% off your next book. I'm mean. So I would have made this code good for 1 week so that everyone would leave this call in a panic and they would start making their book tonight. But I'm not in charge. So you have 1 month to do it. I love these short dated codes because it does force us to take action. And I think if you walk away with something tonight, you're going to walk away, one, knowing a lot more about Ann. You're going to see some of the books that she's produced, which are really beautiful. You're going to see how she and I would sit together as two photographers talking about putting a book together. But you're also going to hopefully leave here with a little inspiration to get started. Our goal tonight is not to make a perfect book. Our goal tonight is to take a body of work and start the process of how you would put this into print. And so before we came on this call, we talked a little bit, and we were talking about cover images, and Ann said something that is very reflective in how I work as well, which was, sometimes I put a cover up and it just doesn't work, and you try something else and it doesn't work. And then you finally come to something that you say, this is it, this works. That's how bookmaking works in general. So that's really the goal. So that's the code, and it's good for 1 month. And I'll mention it hopefully at the end if I don't forget, but there it is on the screen for you to take a look at. So, all right, photographer, my first question to you is, who are you? Where are you, and what do you do?
Right. Well, first up, hi everyone. My name's Ann Orman. I'm a commercial photographer based in Auckland, New Zealand. I've been doing that for probably about 15 years now. I work in the corporate sector, so I do a lot of commercial work, a lot of advertising, billboards, backs of buses, websites, the whole gambit, annual reports, all that sort of thing. So we do a lot of publishing on that side. I am also a travel photographer, and I've been doing that for about the same length of time. I studied in Paris back in 2009, and in that time did a lot of travel, went through Africa for 3 months, and that kind of really piqued my my interest for travel photography. And yeah, 7 books later with Blurb, just saying. So,
that was our secret plug. So yeah, someone in the chat asked a really interesting question, and it's something that you and I've talked about before. You just mentioned something. I asked you who you are, where you are, and what you do. And you and I talked about this before, which was about the balance between doing commercial work and then doing the work that you basically really want to do, which is the travel work. And so someone named Stu Baca, which I by the way, Stu, I love that name.
Good name.
Stu Baca asked, who do you think you are? And that's an interesting question, because I think it talks to exactly what we were talking about, which is you have a commercial side to your photography, and doing an annual report can be rewarding. But ultimately, if you were left to your own devices and you could do anything you want, my guess is that you would aim more towards the travel stuff. Is that true?
Without question. Yeah, without question. Yeah, without question. And saying that though, there are assignments that I do get that I absolutely love. Like, I'm a lifestyle photographer as well, lifestyle in the corporate sector doing, which is a little bit like travel, because you're going out and taking photographs of people and environments, and I get free range to produce whatever images I feel I need to create to give to the client. So I do have some segues in that I enjoy. But yeah, we've talked before, Dan, and we've talked about some of the photographers that I absolutely admire, that I'd love to be able to do, some of the work that they do is picking up some of those commercial clients that want to do international shoots. So that if I could couple that together. But travel is my personal travel is my absolute passion. I just love it. Yeah. So if I'm going to plan a holiday, for example, I'm thinking what's going to be photographically amazing. So Vietnam's next on my list. So Vietnam and India are the 2 next on my list. So
someone I'm staying with here, they're headed to Vietnam as well. I have a question that sort of predates everything we're talking about right now, but I think it's an interesting question, but also because it speaks to something that I've noticed going back to the beginning of my career. You had science-based parents, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there is an unbelievable connection between scientists and photography. There's something about photography that scratches that itch for the scientific community. So your father was the one that sort of put you in the dark room and got you started in that. What do you think the connection is between the science and photography?
Well, scientists are also creative. They have to be. They have to think outside the square to work out a solution to a problem. So they have to think creatively. And they've also got to be systematic. So a photographer needs to look outside the square, look at what's around them, look at and find the solution. But they also have to know if you're shooting, not necessarily, but most of the time, if you're going to shoot manually, then you have to know the science behind and the technology of what's in your hand to be able to create what you're going to create. So I think they marry in together. So, and Dad was a big photographer. I think I lost him when I was 12. So he was an influence to some respect, but I've got a lot of his photography. And I think his camera's on the shelf. I should have grabbed that. It was just, I've still got his F1 Canon. It's a beast of a camera, and it's one that they designed so they could take it up to Antarctica, into the cold, because it's, that's a one camera that doesn't freeze up there. So, yeah.
I'm dating myself, but when I started in photography, a lot of the photographers around me, the Canon F1 was a standard daily camera at that time. And I would equate, if you don't know what that is, I would equate the Canon F1 to like a Chevy 350 engine. It is a blunt instrument. It runs forever, really durable, but it is heavy and kind of muscular in how it comes across. But that's interesting.
The Fuji X-T3. So Fuji brought out a range of cameras like the X-T3s, which have got a really interesting feel and look similar to the old film cameras. Yeah. But they're now digital, which I really love. I just don't find the sensors as good as I shoot in I might as well say it, I'm a Canon shooter. I shoot on an R5.
Okay.
And one interesting thing with talking about technology, it's if you're going to be a travel photographer, you work out what is the lightest and minimal amount of gear that you can take with you, because you want to be nimble and be able to be responsive to the situation you're in. And I tried to go back from the Canon and shop the XT, the Fuji, when I went to the Solomon Islands. But I just found the look and feel just did not. The sensors are different, so they pick up different light. It doesn't give me the range that the Canon does. And now I've got the R5. I bought a couple of lenses. I tried out some different lenses, and now I've gone back to carrying my commercial gear with me. Not the whole gambit, but the R5 with a nice, simple, probably the what have I got on there? 70, not the 7200, the 24105.
24105.
Yeah.
So
just so I can shoot.
So one quick story, and then I want to ask you about books. But I shoot both Fuji and Nikon. So the Nikon is the full frame sensor cameras, and then Fuji I've been using forever. So I have everything from the little X100 cameras, which I love, to the I've had the XTs, but I have the XH cameras now, I have both the one that's specific for video and one for stills. But I went to Antarctica last year, and my wife came along as well. And my wife she doesn't work as a photographer, but she's been around photography for almost 40 years. And she borrowed a Fuji X-T5 and a 100-400. And she, without any practice, just absolutely nailed this trip. And of course, my wife being my wife, she just bragged and talked trash to me from the second she started shooting, all through the trip, and then all after the trip. And it's been over a year, and she's still talking trash about how good she was on that trip. But I was really amazed because, again, I've been shooting Fuji for a long time. That X-T5 and the 100-400 lens, that's kind of the sweet spot lens choice for Antarctica. But I was so blown away by how good that stuff is. But before we get sidetracked on gear, I want to ask you about books in particular. You have made a series of Blurb books that are so beautiful, and they're also uniform in size and page count. So when you put them up on the shelf, it's like volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. What was the first moment in your photographic career where you said, I either want to make a book or I need to make a book?
It started during COVID, funnily enough. Okay. And I'd always wanted to do it. And I tell you what, actually it was, I thought, I've got so many on my hard drive that if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, no one's going to do anything with those images. So that was the first thing. I thought, right, I've got to get that book. And the second one was, I really want to have a record of these. I want to be able to pick up a book and flick through it and go, like, I've done a couple of the Paris ones. I've done 7 for the Africa trip, because the Africa trip was 7 weeks long. So I've got one, it's called the Travel Diaries, which includes people that were traveling with us and things that we saw. I've got another one, which is Iconic Images, and then another one, which is Africa Volume 1, 2, and 3. And it was really so that, down the track, 20 years time, I've got something to look back on when, should my brain fail or something like that. I went thinking, this needs to be, and so initially I've done them just for me. They're now, in that fact though, and so when I put them together, they were just for me, but now they're available. I put them on my website. I put them on my the site that you can buy my images on. So now they are purchasable through there. But it was really, I just wanted to get a record. I wanted something. I love books. I love photography books. I have over 200 like photography book, big coffee table books. So that was my inspiration around it. Yeah, my drive.
What is your favorite set of ingredients? 8x10 landscape soft cover, or what combination of Blurb ingredients are you using?
Well, let me grab one. So this is so if people can see, that's a bit of reflection there. That's the Bali book. So that's how big it is. And I did a soft cover. I experimented. I did the first 3 I did were hardcovers, and it just something wasn't clicking. And then when I came to that format, that size, the soft cover, pages, and you can actually in these books do a full spread. So you can do,
across the gutter,
and you just make sure that when it goes across the gutter, you just, either shift it or make sure that the primary element of the image is not sitting in the gutter. But I found they work really well, and I will show you because you just asked me about that. I've just taken a selection, so these ones aren't. So this is the size, and that's so when they're on the shelf, they look like that. But there's 23 of them. So
23 volumes of those books, and how many pages per book?
240. I've gone for the max.
Oh, the maximum. That is unbelievable.
I've gone for the maximum. Yeah.
By the way, 810 soft cover with good paper to me is my favorite photo book combination for Blurb.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I think. Is it luster? Is it the hard to say?
Oh, it's the premium luster paper.
Premium luster. So yeah.
So quickly from the chat. So a couple of things. One is people were wondering if you could share your website, what the name of your website is.
Oh, yes. Okay. Should I put that in the chat? I'll put that in the chat.
You can put that in the chat. And then Dan had a question. And Dan, I just want to mention this question because we're going to get to this when we start designing the book. Dan said, I've heard that good photo books should be, quote, paced similar to a novel. How does someone achieve pacing in a travel photo book? We are going to go over that exact thing. And when I show you some of the images that Ann shot, that's one of the points that I jumped out at me was, if I was designing this book, this is how I would pace it. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. So I just wanted to make sure.
Okay. I was just going to put it in there, but it's making me join the chat. So,
okay. I'll put it in. What's your website?
Yeah. So www.annorman.com. Pretty simple.
That's easy.
Yeah. And even under my Instagram handle, if you go into my Instagram, I've actually just loaded lately 6 sites with Africa, Bali. What else is in there? Africa,
so
Bali.
It wouldn't let me post that for some reason. Maybe it's because it's a website, but her site is annorman.com, and we can mention that again at the end.
Yeah. Just search that and you'll find me. So
okay. So should we I want to do one thing before we start the book. I'm going to share my screen, and I just want to go through some of your images. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just going to scroll through, and let's have just a quick look at some of the stuff that you're going to do. And just before I get to that, Brad, she makes 8x10 landscape aspect ratio. So 8x10 horizontal soft cover Blurb books with 240 pages with premium luster paper. And as you can see, when she held them up, they are pretty stunning.
Michelle's just put that up in the chat.
Yep, you're good.
Thanks, Michelle.
Annorman.com. All right, so, hang on. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to do this and this and this. And then we are going to go to Bridge. All right, so we're just going to go through a few of these images. We wanted to start with something appetizing, the front. But just to roll through some. You'll notice to me there's some differences in palette. So you've got a palette like this. It's a little more contrasty, a little punchier.
Different cameras.
You've got this muted, more muted color here.
Yeah. Different
And
cameras and different zones that you're working in. Like that's the Middle East. The light in the Middle East is beautiful. So
this is the Middle East.
this is the Middle East. Yep. So that's in between Oman and Dubai.
Wow. And I
Yep.
was mentioning earlier, I'm in love with the Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
Anybody who's a
Yeah,
Land Cruiser fan?
So these are the dried fish farmers. That was quite amazing. We kind of I think this was part of when I was at Paris. They said, "Do you want to go to the Middle East for a week and do photography?" I'm like,
Yes.
drag me away. That's a big yes. And so we went and we were around these guys that were this is probably one of my favorite series of images with these. And this is no, this is Lombok, actually, up in the mountains of Lombok. It's a village up there.
This
Small village.
And you can tell there's a shift here from this kind of light and scene to this, which looks a little punchier, a little.
And also 15 years apart in my photography.
Oh, wow.
So the style changes slightly as well. Yeah.
And then I like here because we get into a series of tight photographs of simple. And I like on your site where you mentioned the fact that you love very simple, clean images. And I think that these are really easy to read. They're graphic, they're simple, clean. And I like mixing these. So to Don's point about asking about pacing, this is the kind of thing that we're talking about.
When I shoot, and I do this for work as well, as I always shoot wide, mid, close.
Wide, mid, close.
Wide, mid, close. You get the context, get the whole thing in, shoot a little bit closer, which is usually the person, and then you'll see in some of these ones that there's and then I get really tight because I love hands, which is I'm actually known for, when people look at my photography, they go, "Oh, that'll be Ann's image," because I'm obsessed with hand photography, working hands and stuff. So
what's interesting is it seems like you've shot enough and you're continuing to shoot that you could conceivably at some point do a book that is nothing but hands.
That's been on the cards as well. Yeah. So I've got a couple of iconic books that I want to do, like iconic images that I wanted to create. I've done them for the continents that I've been on or the islands that I've been through, just the iconic ones, because you just want, I believe in editing. If you can edit quite cleanly and get really tight with your edit, it's very hard. It can be very hard to edit your own work. And sometimes I'll shoot, like I've been to Fiji. I haven't even looked at those images. I need quite a bit of distance so that when I come to look at them, I don't think this is when I took them. I want to stand back and then see them for what they are as a standalone image. But then you get really tight, and just don't be afraid to weed out the stuff that does not work and edit right down. So you're at the skeleton of images, and then come back and say, okay, well, I need one to go in here to add more to the story. So you put something else in. Yeah.
So one question before we get to designing a book, and that is, I want you to go back in time and I want you to remember what it was like when you first looked at Blurb BookWright. What do you think of the software? I mean, was it
okay? That's a good question. I think when I look, the very first book I ever did with Blurb software, and this was before BookWright came in. And I did one for my partner's father to celebrate his 80th, and it was just a little small square one. And oh my goodness, I think I couldn't get my head around it initially. And then when I came to do these books, my thing is you have to do something probably 10 times to feel proficient, just enough to get around and not have to think about it too much. The BookWright software, to me, if you slow down and just take your time, it all makes sense. It's like anything, you have to learn it. But when I see BookWright software, I get so excited because I know I just have to put these images in. I have to curate them first in Lightroom, which is the software system I use. I curate them first in Lightroom, pull them all in, and then I lay them out, and then I start building it. But taking a book does take, it can, like these ones do take time. I've nailed it down now that using the BookWright stuff, this software, I can produce a book probably within a week or two now, because I have a formula that I follow, and I'm staying with that formula because it works. It tells the story really well. And once you get into the BookWright software, it's very simple, but it's like anything. It's like anything. Just give yourself the time to learn it, to learn a new software. If you're going to use Lightroom, Lightroom's the same. It's yeah.
Yeah. So
hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
That's how I describe it. I tell people that BookWright, compared to a program like Photoshop or something that other program that we use, even like I hate Microsoft Excel. I think the devil made Microsoft Excel. I hate that program. That program, Microsoft Excel, is so much more complicated than BookWright.
Yeah.
BookWright, I always tell people when you go to buy a new car, you typically test drive it. And any piece of software you have to test drive. And Blurb is a program. I mean, BookWright is a program that needs to work for a really wide variety of audience. And in comparison to something like Adobe InDesign, which is the industry standard for book design, InDesign is a beautiful, incredible piece of software, but it is far more complex than BookWright. So I'm glad to hear that it took you a few tries, but now you're sort of in tune with it. And when and I think you said something really important, which is when you think about BookWright or you turn towards BookWright, you're excited because you know how it works and it's not in the way. It's just there to help you get visually where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Somebody asked a question here, and I'm just going to answer it quickly because I think I know. This is from Neela.
I see a few.
Do you label the photos or do you create an index? And I think what you mean by that is caption the photo.
Yeah. So I decided I didn't want to label them. I'll show you the front of the book. I'll walk through a little bit of this, shall I? Of the book.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So obviously I've put the cover together. And then you open up and I've done a proper, so that's the inside. And I'll talk about the slowly logo in a minute. And I've put on the other side, I've put all my details, contact details, as you would a normal book.
Smart.
And then every book that I have has a blurb, so to speak, about the trip. And I have a travel quote at the top. Like this one is, traveling broadens our minds and our hearts and allows us to connect with cultures that take us beyond our own. So I've put a different quote in every book. Then I've put a map. So a map with the places that is covered. And then I've done a contents page.
Oh, nice.
But I haven't put any page numbers on it. I want the images. So for example, let's go to, and then let's say I've done one called, this is in Bali, this is called The Natural Salt Maker. So I've done a title.
Yep.
And then some of them will have a little blurb about, if it's the salt maker, about the salt maker. And then I've put the images in there. Okay. And then there might be there's a couple of pages of images. But then when I get to the back, because I want to be able to refer back, I've done a simple index page.
Yep.
And then index the images that way.
Wow. I mean, and
that means I can refer back to them. Yeah.
It's super smart. First of all, having your contact information on the front, which is your, that's oddly enough, a lot of photographers now in the age of social, they forget to do that. And a lot of clients, for anybody who's on this call, depending on who the clients are, they won't necessarily engage with you via social. So certain clients, whether they're in the finance world, government agencies, they will often, if you only have social media contact information, they will not consider working with you. So it's pretty smart to put it is, after all, your work. Especially if you're trying to go after work, it's good. And I would even be, because I'm a bit jaded when it comes to this, I would also take that contact information from the front and I would duplicate it in the back, because a lot of people are right-handed and they open your book from the back.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. Well, at the back, so what I've done at the back, so I've got my commercial logo in the back of the book with my website underneath it.
I really like that. I was going to mention that to you. I like that on your website a lot.
Yeah. So, because one of the things I was going to share is that when I came to do the books, and how, I mean, everything takes time to evolve. You kind of think, oh, I'm going to become this travel photographer and have this label. It's all going to have, but everything takes time. Everything is a slow metamorphosis into becoming what it is, and it grows. So we were in the Solomon Islands, and a guy, and I get quite wild. I love to travel. I'm full on. I'm always doing projects. And this guy came up to me. I said, when's the next boat? And he comes up, puts his hand on my arm, and he goes, slowly, slowly, honey, we're on island time. I went, oh, that's my new tattoo. So my tattoo, if you can see it, says slowly, slowly. And I went, that's going to become my brand. So that now is at the front of the book.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks amazing.
That's my travel logo is my slowly. So all my prints, when they go out, they'll have, I've just had some stamps made and stuff, and on the back it says certificate of authenticity, which they actually get an actual, certificate, but it's also got the logo in the middle, the slowly, slowly. So kind of things just evolve and they take time. So
I absolutely love that. First of all, I love the story. And I think that whether you're talking about a photograph or a book, I think the story of the person who's putting it together is a huge part of that. I think your story as an author, as a photographer, is as much a part of the equation as your photographs are. I think, oftentimes the story of the artist will bring people that aren't necessarily even interested in photography.
Yeah. Yeah. I just looked at one of the chats. Someone's just said, do you ever put more than one photo on one per page?
Yeah.
My answer to that, no. I want it big, front and center. I want that one image for someone to go, I want you to stop and look at one thing. I don't want you to look at, and when I first started using BookWright, because that's a really good question. When I first started using it, I put all my images in, and I had like 4 per page and stuff. And I went, oh, that doesn't work. So I put down 2 per page and went, sometimes that works. And then I went, no, one image, whether it's spread across the whole lot, just one page or 2/3 of the page, but look at the image. The image has got the power is in the single image. That's what photography is. If I wanted to do something, if I wanted to do more than that, I'd go and do video. But I don't do video because I love the power of a single image. I love the power of one image that makes you look at it and go, what is going on there? And really feel it. That's, yeah. So hopefully that answers your question.
So there was someone here, question that I want to answer before we go any further, and then I want to open up BookWright and start.
Yeah.
Someone says, does anyone use the book module in Lightroom, or is BookWright that much better or user-friendly? So I get this question quite a lot. And for those of you who don't know, inside Adobe Lightroom, which is one of the most popular imaging softwares for photographers, inside Adobe Lightroom is the book module, and the book module in Adobe Lightroom connects directly to Blurb. It's a really slick system. I've probably made around 300 books with Blurb. I have made, I think, 1 or 2 in Lightroom. And that is not to knock the Lightroom book module. There's a photographer in Arizona named Jared Platt. And if anybody wants to look up Jared Platt, Jared is one of the smartest guys you're going to find anywhere in the photo space. He's a very personable guy as well. He makes books through Lightroom. He makes Blurb books through Lightroom that are so good looking. They are astounding. Every time I see them, I think to myself, there's no way he did this in Lightroom. And he did. So wow. Lightroom, the key to the Lightroom software is efficiency. You're in the same program that you're manipulating your files, so you can manipulate files and make a book in the same software without leaving and having to go to another software. So to me, that's really the strong point. In terms of design options, BookWright offers more design options. So it would be Lightroom, BookWright, Adobe InDesign. And that's kind of where it is. Yeah. So they're not necessarily better than one another. They are just different, and they're all tools that are worth exploring. So, okay, we're going to, let's get to this book thing that we've talked about. Let me share my screen. And to give people a heads up what I'm about to do, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to open BookWright, and I'm going to import a folder of Ann's images, and then BookWright's going to open, and we're going to start, she and I are going to start working together to do a book. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, here we go. And then I'm going to open BookWright. I'm going to hit create. I'm going to go to photo books. I'm going to do a standard landscape. I'm going to choose premium luster and soft cover. And I'm going to title this Ann's Masterpiece. I'm going to say Ann Orman, and we're going to hit start. Now I'm going to select my photos right here, and then I'm going to go to my desktop, Ann Orman Final Images, and I'm going to select all these babies, and I'm going to hit open, and they are going to import in. Nope, I'm going to, these are all the windows, the pop-ups that come when you're starting to make a book. If I wanted to save time, like if let's say that I had my appointment at the DMV and I had to leave and I was like, oh no, I have to go to the DMV. I need to make this book right now. I could hit save me time, but no, we're going to place them ourselves. And this, if you haven't seen it, is the basic BookWright interface. And I'm going to start here on the cover. And you and I talked about this before, and I just mentioned this earlier. I don't necessarily put all my eggs in the cover basket at the beginning. I will often mock up a cover to sort of give myself a placeholder, and then I work my way into the book, and then I'll come back and I'll do the cover at the end. But what image are you thinking up here maybe you want to try for the cover?
Let's go to the end and have a look at the one of the, you won't be able to see me pointing, right to the very end. Keep going to maybe the balloon.
To the balloon.
Next one.
Okay.
Try that.
And are you thinking you want it to be across both pages or just the front cover? Like,
let's see how it looks.
Okay.
Put it in. Let's put it in and see how it looks. Because sometimes you just never know. Sometimes because it depends on how much of the image you're going to lose.
So here's what I did. I also left, if you can see this, I left a white border. So I left a little bit of border on this. I actually really like how bordered pictures look, but that, again, personal preference. You may say I'm a full bleed person, but it's so funny because these last two images are the ones that I put in after, because when I saw your work and I said, I'm going to make a cover from one of these two. And the one that I chose was that one.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'm also going to go down here and hang on one second. I'm going to move. I got this little pop-up window that's bugging me here. Oh, hang on. Okay, so I am going to go here and I'm going to hit this auto image adjust just to see if it pops this file a little bit. It's going to open this file up, but my guess is it's going to open it. It opened a little too much, but yeah, I saw this. And for those of you out there, Anne, have you seen a movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
Yep.
Okay, it's with Ben Stiller. For anybody who's a photographer that has not seen the movie The Secret Life of Walter Mitty with Ben Stiller, Kristen Wiig, Sean Penn, it is such a fun, cool movie about the original Life magazine and photography. And if you're a film photographer, there's a whole bunch of talk about, it's hilarious about how one of the protagonists is a film photographer. That gets a lot of mention, but one of the best aspects of that movie is the opening credits. They blend the typography into moving scenes in this beautiful, seamless way. And when I saw all of your work, I saw this image and I thought, if this page had vertical text, sort of mimicking the lines in this image, it kind of reminded me of Ben Stiller, but also because there's a mystery to it where I don't know exactly what I'm looking at. Am I looking at a detail or am I looking at a distance? And Anne, before we go any further, and I'll go back to your pick. Before we go any further, is there a title of this project or work?
I came up with a number of titles, and this is literally for a new project, not a new project, but pulling together a lot of images that I've taken that now is going to become a very big body of work. And it's about the workers. But I've kind of gone through, I've got a list of probably, 10 titles that I've still got to select through to see which one's going to work, which one kind of hits. Do you want me to go through the titles, or should I just pick one for this one?
Give us a couple and then let's pick the one that you went with.
Yeah. So the body of work is around workers that you don't see. They're behind the scenes. They're, the people that I've just, through my travels, I've gone into the middle of the paddy fields or out into the ocean where they're growing seaweed, or, the guy that's holding the meat. And I want to now do that work in every country that I go to. And I've got things like the workers, hidden souls. I've got working souls, the quiet workers, the unseen workers. So that's in the range of what I'm looking at.
And to me, the quiet workers, or even, and we should talk about this, because what that title could be quiet workers, or it could be the quiet workers. And for example, I'm going to place some text over the top of this just for fun. And I'm going to say, okay, so let's say if we did QUIET, is there a typeface that you were thinking about?
I haven't, no, because I can't remember what I used for. What did I use for this one? I'm
just going to do this really quickly.
Just choose something for this one.
Ooh, okay, so if I did quiet workers here.
That's nice.
Let's say this, and we go here. But look at what happens if you add another line of text. I mean, that little basic thing here could be, could be anything. And also, when it comes to typefaces, you want to find something that fits the look and feel of what it is you're doing. So as you go through here, obviously the difference between using something like a Brielle like this, and then using something that's so fine and simple like this makes a huge difference on the look and feel of how something works. But okay, so let's say, is this the cover image you think you want to stick with?
I don't know, because what happens is that I'll pick a cover. Sometimes I'll pick the cover first, and sometimes I'll do it afterwards. Sometimes I'll build the book and then go, oh, I like that. That's nice. That speaks to me. That's really lovely.
Well, the interesting thing too is how if you look at this image here, which I like this image a lot for a bunch of different reasons we can talk about, but there's a complexity to this picture. As a viewer, I'm kind of bouncing from the guy on the right to the guy on the left to the baskets. There's a lot happening. This, on the other hand, that is
it's really lovely.
Quiet, clean, beautiful, balanced photograph that I think that's good. Okay, so let's say for now we're going to stick with this as our cover, and I move to inside cover here. Let's move into the first, inside cover of the book. This page is going to be blank because it's a soft cover. What are you thinking about for this?
I have nothing on the inside page. I leave that because the book's got to breathe like images. You got to leave space around things. So that one will be blank. Okay. So the next two pages would come down to those two. What do I do in these ones? I'll just have a wee look at what I put into. I think that's where I put my information about who I am, and I put a photograph of myself in there. So that goes into that page, and then the title page will sit on the other side, on the right-hand side.
I'm going to use a placeholder here. I'm going to say
put the old guy in there.
I'm going to say for the purposes, this is Ann, and then I'm going to place some text over here, and I'm just going to make a text box here, and I'm going to add some. Just add some text in here. Hang on, let me make it small enough to fit here. I'm going to go now. Here's my. This is something I want to share with folks here. I am someone who is always going to err on the smaller side when it comes to copy, to the type. I think one of the telltale signs of a self-published book often is that the typefaces that people use are far too large. The default typeface or typeface size or font size, that is 12 point. And 12 is big for body copy. So I'm a 10 point, 9 point person. And it will also depend on the typeface you choose and also on the legibility of the typeface you choose. So let's go back. We got cover here, and I'm going to hit preview. We got cover. We got a blank. This is what I wanted to mention. Ann and I have been using the word blank for the page on the right. It's actually not blank. That's white space. And white space is the same as an image or a body of copy. White space is a thing. and it's a really important thing. And the funny thing is, if Anne shows this book to civilians, someone will turn this page and say, "Oh, you forgot one," because they're expecting picture, 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 picture. But that's not how good books work. And what Anne said a minute ago is spot on. You want it to breathe. The front of the book is called the front matter, and the back of the book is called the back matter. And those, you can look those up, Google them. I've talked about them in past presentations. Front matter and back matter they're on equal pairing with the actual photographs in the book. So it could be an introduction. In Anne's case, it's her photograph with her contact information. She has a table of contents, those kind of things that she's exactly spot on. The front of the book has to breathe. So we go here. And then Anne, what are you thinking for this right-hand page?
So that's where I'd put the title.
Okay, so let me go. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's a little trick. I'm going to select this box. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to go to this page. I'm going to hit paste. Now the copy's in white. I'm going to change this to black. Now you can also, if you wanted to, this could go here to sort of balance out with this content on the side. You could align the top of this copy with the top of this photograph. And then this could come up like this, or maybe over here. Maybe you want to make this a little larger, something to keep these aligned. So I like that, the title page. I think having this half title page, the other thing that you could do is you could, I'm going to go back here to this page if you wanted. Hang on one sec. Let me do this. I do like your idea of keeping it blank. And this would be the other, sort of option. If we go back here, you could say the quiet work. You don't really need it soon into the book. So I think your direction is better than mine. I'm going to get rid of this thing. I'm just going to get rid of this. Whoops, do this.
One thing I will say, Dan, I think it's when you're creating a book, which is the same as photography, it's how it feels to you.
Yep.
Because you'll look at something and go, yeah, I'm not sure about that. Try a different bunch of things until it feels like it says who you're wanting to be and what you're wanting to present.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I think it's you move pieces around on the chessboard, and all of a sudden something feels right. And
like like that front image, when you move that text down to the bottom corner, I'm like, oh, I love that. It just feels right. The quiet workers, it's like even the words, you put them down to the corner so that it's like someone's just whispering, the quiet workers. It's not screaming at the top of the image. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I didn't think about it until you just said that, but I think the place of it there works. The only thing that's not on that cover, and I don't know how you feel about this, or if it's you can always address it inside, was there's no Ann Orman on the cover. And so
not yet. Yeah. But I don't know that it needs to be in this. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know yet. You could balance it out here, but I think because the word quiet is on the cover, I think it's better with less. You could also go to this first page and you could put Ann Orman here. But I think what's probably better is to have it here.
Janet, can I tell you what I did? So when I started putting these books together, and as I say, I've got over 200 big coffee table travel books, Jimmy Nelson, Sebastião Salgado, I've got all the big greats. And I picked out a bunch of them. My favorite is Steve McCurry, who we all know. And I looked at all of them and went, which ones really speak to me about layouts, about text, about how they put them together. I looked at index pages. So I didn't dream up a lot of what I've done myself. I kind of I looked at what other people did and went, how do I feel about that? And then I've used that as a bit of inspiration to then build on put up together, building my books. So
I think Anne, that was definitely proof that we're related, because that when people ask me about making good books, I say go look at photo books and go look at photography books. And my guess is that you will, when you start to look at a photo book, not just through the photographs, but through the design, you'll start to notice things immediately. You notice things like, what typeface are they using? How many different typefaces are they using? What's the density? Is it solid black? Is it gray? Is it reversed out, white text on black pages? All those different things. And I always tell people, whatever time and energy you put into becoming the photographer you are, when it comes to making photo books, you will put in the same time and energy to get good at making photo books. And don't be intimidated by that. This is fun. Like what we're doing right now, I absolutely love doing this because, you know, I don't get a chance to, I've never looked at your work and said, oh, I get a chance to like help and design a book here. This is really good. So let's move on to the next spread. So now we've got cover, blank, white space page. We've got this spread. And now I'm guessing you're going to want to hit them with a photograph.
No, this is where I'd probably put an index.
Oh, the
index would, the index would go in there. But for this purpose, we may not want to do that. But this might be different. This might be just a book of the quiet workers with it doesn't have to have an index because it's just images of workers. And the index at the back itself might speak to each of the images. I could put some titling at the back of the book of saying where everything is. So
we could do a table of contents, or we could do an image.
I'd go straight to the images.
Images. Now I have one that I absolutely love that I would choose, but you know, I'm not the photographer, so you get to choose.
No, you're going to do this. I want to see what you come up with.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Well, that's the cover, I think, of one of the other ones I used. Yeah, I love her.
Because there's a couple of things about this. Number one, I'm a huge decisive moment guy. So, and the decisive moment was Cartier-Bresson's famous quote about, you know, making photographs. So when I see this here, this little section of the water from her moving foot, I absolutely love that. But what I love is right here, that I can see into her eyes, her face, moment, balance, the symmetry. It's a simple, beautiful, clean photograph. And I think, man, you know, you go from this, which is kind of mysterious. I thought this was an umbrella the first time I saw it. It took me a second to figure out it's a balloon. So that, to me, when I saw this and I thought it was an umbrella, I said, that's a good cover image, because it slowed me down enough to try to figure out what it was. Then white space, a little breath. Now I have a title. I would probably put Ann Orman on here somewhere.
Yeah, I think I would too. Yeah.
And what I would probably do, I don't know, we can talk about that. I'm not sure where I would put it, but I would probably put Ann Orman there, so it's a half title page. And then boom, you hit with an image like this. And I think that's really nice, really beautiful.
And also, can I say something about that? I wouldn't put anything next to it.
Oh, no, I would leave it.
Because you just want to see that one image. You don't want to be conflicting. You put something else in there and all of a sudden, unless it's a hand shot, unless it's like if you put the one next to it, just try that for a second, the one to the right of her.
Hang on one sec. Let me do this, and let me do, you're exactly right.
And let's see how that sits. Oh, I was gonna go with the other one. Try the hand shot, which is on the right hand side. So now that starts to feel heavy.
Now I would flip these. I would put, if I was going to do both of these on
change them over.
I would flip. I would put this one here, and I would put this one here. I think this picture in particular.
Yeah, that works. There you go.
Now, here's the funny thing. This to me, that's a beautiful spread.
Yeah, it's really nice.
However, this early in the book, I still think I would do this, and I would do that,
and
I would leave it, because I just, to your point, and what I was going to do was do this. I was going to do this, and I'm going to choose circle. I just want to do this to prove a point. So if I do this, and then let me say I zoom in, and I just put her face in this thing, right? Someone asked if you do more than one image on the spread. So let me just even reduce this even further. Let me just make this really small as like a design element that you're putting over here, like offset. But as this is a question to the people on this call, what happens now when you look at that spread? Now my eye goes straight to that tiny image on the left. And I'm pulled away from the sort of power of that image on the right. Now my brain goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So when people if you put a caption, if you put a second element, if you put a second photograph, you're asking the viewer to do twice as much. And like we said, like we showed a second ago, this spread, let me get rid of this thing. Let me do this and this. This spread like this, whoops, sorry. That spread we showed a second ago where we had, she was on the left and the hand was on the right. I think that's a really good spread, but I don't know if I would do it so early in the book. I think your point of leaving this alone is a really smart way to do it. So what's next?
All right. So if we flip over, let's go through the top. Oh, actually, we've got some. We could go into let's go into the fish farmers maybe, or do you want to do the hands shots? The fish farm. I love these guys. And again, it's interesting that he's similar to the salt maker.
So,
but I think the two. Yeah, see, I would like to see those two together. So if you put put him in.
Put this one.
Yeah, and I also love the other one where he's got his head down. See how that looks together?
Yep. Now I'm drawing these photographs. I'm drawing these photo boxes. But if I wanted to, I could go up.
Yeah.
I could go to layouts and I could just do this thing. I could just drag this in and I could do this.
Yeah. So, and just on that too, I have set layouts that I use. So I've got in all my books, there's a handful of layouts that are stock standard that I know I'm going to use because of the shape or they fit the width and double spread across a couple of pages. And so I can just go in that drop when you do where it says standard landscape or layouts, there's a drop down box. So if you click on that, click on that. And then it's got one that says my layout. So in my layouts, I can create a layout and then save it. Say it might be a double page spread. And then and then I know I've got consistency throughout the book of the look and feel. So I'm quite formulaic when it comes to doing that.
That's okay. I mean, I think that's good. It works for you. And what Ann's talking about is right here. So if we look at this spread and we say, okay, this is something we're going to use repeatedly, we can go to hit save layout and it asks you, do you want to save the right page, the left page, or spread? And so I'm going to say spread and I'm going to say, this is called a double up and I'm going to save this. So when I go back here to my layouts, there it is. It's ready and I can just drag it down and I can use that. So I think this looks, I like this. I like that spread. Hit him with the single image, hit him with the double. Again, clean, simple, easy reads, consistent borders around. I think that looks fantastic. One thing I would like to try on the next spread is let's do this.
Okay.
What are we going to do with, I know what I would do.
I know what you're going to do. Do it. Are you going to put your favorite in? Are you? Oh, you know it. Okay.
Oh, hang on. Which one are you going to do? Well, there's actually a bunch in here that would work.
Yeah, but I would. Oh, okay. Well, there's one would be the guy in the rice paddy fields, but I wonder if we go right to the front and go the truck that you love. Actually, no, the next one along to the fish one. Keep going. Is it the next one? One of these ones, which is quite wide. Yeah, either that one or the one next to it.
So this
one of those. Try that one.
Let me see here. Let's think about. Let's try this one, and then I'm going to move this.
Pull it up.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at that.
And see how it doesn't sit, and so there's no. Yeah, beautiful.
There's nothing.
So even
in the gutter.
Even with that ones, I would still leave. I've got white borders around the outside of them as well. I found that just let the image breathe a bit more as well.
You want a border?
Yeah, I put a border in. That's what I tend to do. He's coming in.
We do this. Hang on. I'm going to do this. Let me do this, and then I'm going to place a photo. I'm going to go here.
Yeah.
I'm going to drag this in. I'm going to move this up a little bit. Yeah, so you can see this pink area is basically your safe printing area, and we're losing we're losing nothing in the gutter. And if I go here, let me go back here to the beginning and just keep people on the flow. The quiet workers, we got white space, title page, boom, hit him with an image, 2 more. And then boom, this double truck.
Nice.
I absolutely love. That reminds me a bit of Ed Bertinsky. That looks a little like Edward Bertinsky's work. That's really nice. Now I'm looking at this, and now me being sort of the, I don't know, the book snob that I am, now I'm thinking, okay, so we got three spreads of imagery. What are we going to do to either slow them down or speed them up? So does that mean going back to, and I'm going to hit manage pages here so we can see the whole book.
That's really good. Yeah.
You can see here, what I absolutely love this button, manage pages. It's to me one of the most important pages, because watch what I can do. I can change.
And then that you got the breathing space. Yeah.
And I can do this. Now, I like the way that it is right here, but now I'm thinking, okay, so photo, 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 photo. Now I want to do something else here that's either going to make them slow down or make them read or do something. So what do you think? What would you do here? Just keep going with the images?
I would until I have a break. So I would maybe put some hand stuff in it. But I do, as I say, that's why I only do single images to make. See, I may even put, see the one where you've got the cursor on there now, I possibly put him in. And I'd probably put him maybe as a spread, but I could do him a 3/4 page leading from the left.
That's so funny. I was going to say, let's do editorial style. Let's go here and let's go here.
And then bring him in.
I'm going to bring him up a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And we do that. And also look at the consistency, same white border, giving the picture a little bit of space. Now, if she had an image where the sky was completely white, she has detail in the sky. So you have detail in the clouds, and you can see the difference between page white or paper white and the image. If this image was completely white all the way around, then I would maybe consider either putting a subcolored background, or I would bleed this off the edge of the page or something. But, you know, these images have detail in them. So even this one, which has a lot of white across the top, you can still see where that image starts and stops all the way across. That's a really important aspect. But look at this. Look at how nice this is looking.
That's really lovely. So if I look at, see, when I look at the page, go back to the page layouts, the managed pages, if you go down to there, that's when I would look at things and see how the flow was happening. And is the green of the paddy fields too much in that where I've got soft, 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 and then I go bang. So, you know, you get to see how the book flows together. It's really lovely, and you can move things around. Thing with BookWright, just remember, if you are using this, is save, save, save every time you go through. I don't think it self-saves, does it? I think you have to save it.
No, it does.
It does.
It does. But I'm like you. I'm paranoid. I'm 56 years old, so I'm used to like old world software, and my left hand is constantly Command Save all the time. Whether or not, it doesn't matter what program I'm in.
Hey, Neela's just asked something which is really important, which is we have forgotten, is that normally at the very beginning, I'd have a title page, and then I do my intro. I talk about, so that's what I've done. In that after the sort of page where the first images, that would be another blank page, but it would have, that's where I'd have my map, and I'd have my information about the topic. Like I tell a story. That's where I tell a story. So this page on the left would have my map, and on the right, I've put in a story.
Okay, so I'm going to fake the map. This is going to be the, this is going to be the, I'm sorry, I put a text box in here. Let me get rid of that. Let me go back to photo box. I'm going to place.
Andrew's just asked where I get my maps from. I Google and find something that's a bit elusive on the net, really.
Now,
if I was going to, pardon?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So, you can create your own ones. I didn't have the energy or the time, and I was trying to, when Blurb puts out, you can get, 25% off. I'm like, oh, get that book out and get the discount. So have a look around and find ones that you can, if you're going to sell them. See, for me, these can be sold, but you got to look out for copyright. That's all. So
okay, so I want to show one thing. So this is hang on a sec. I'm going to go all copy and then paste. So this is, let's say that this is your story across the side. All right. So this page would look in essence something like this. And then maybe at the top of it, you would have a little, let's just say this is a title, and this is going to be in a different font size. We're going to go up here. So, maybe it would be something like that. So that is, and I noticed in your book that the copy was sort of one copy block like this. One thing I want to show, and just for fun, is to look at text layouts. And I want to, I want to go, let me hit this column and then paste into here. I'm going to get rid of the title just to kind of show what column text looks like. And the kind of thing because look at what the text is doing now. Let's say that this wasn't a map, that we're actually using this. Look at these squares, right? So now I can offset my copy to sort of mimic what's happening in the picture on the left, or just the fact that I have 2 columns of text can also make it easier to read. It's just a different way. I think sometimes what happens when I see people, your book looked fine. And sometimes when I see people do copy across the page, they get too close to the inside gutter.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And so I have to be very conscious of that.
You got to be conscious of it. And you can also weight things towards the outside just a tiny bit if you're doing that. I actually really like how this spread looks. I love this picture.
Yeah. I want you to save it and send it to me. I'm liking that.
This was my cover image fantasy, was like, oh, this is the Walter Mitty cover, and we're going to put vertical text on these rows where it's going to say like Ann Orman here in small text, and then quiet workers at a diagonal on this text line. That probably doesn't work, but that was my original plan. Let me go back here, just have a look through these. This is looking good.
I love that cover. That cover, I love that. That is, really nice. Yeah.
Love this. Love that. That's so perfect for a double truck spread. Spread. And
it's peaceful. It's a peaceful image. Yeah.
It's super peaceful. I think what you said a minute ago is what you said is really interesting. Let's say this is a map. Forget this is green. Okay. So you've got kind of a bluish tone, but it's warm because she has this warm color. You've got warm, and then a green contrast. So one thing that, like, to me is I would think about, okay, well, maybe if we move that here and there's some transitional thing.
Yep. You'll find an image that will transition those together.
Exactly. And I'm not sure what that
because there
is.
are I've got a series of very strong images in there, and then I've got try this, go back a wee bit, go the other way you're going, go back to and there's the guy in the paddy fields.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
got green in them, so the green will kind of lead you into the next green, but it's got enough light texture from the other.
We go here. Whoops, let me go down here. Back to project. Let me go see how this looks as a spread. I don't know.
No, I don't know either. Yeah, what I'd probably end up doing is I would be putting more of the workers from the Middle East, I think, and let that flow through.
So, okay.
You probably have another Middle East one in there. And it could even be something that's a little bit, that's
what if we did.
Well. I might even put the truck, the Land Cruiser in. Yeah, that's nice. That breaks it up. Breaks it up.
And then maybe this, a little bit of copy kind of slows them down so that when they get here and they go to the next one, you're kind of on to the next. Or maybe this is even just a quote. This could be like a big knockout quote. Something. But I think Yeah, I don't know, just playing. I love these pictures. I mean, I think this is a really solid picture on its own.
If you go back to manage pages now, see that I like that because the darkness of the fish, I feel like it leads me into, I'm ready to go into the next thing.
Yeah. So I think we've got about 15, if I'm not mistaken, we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to get to some Q&A. So
yeah, because someone just asked, there's someone asked about the spine. So that's, if anybody can see, that's my spine. How am I there? Is that got enough reflection on it? Yeah.
And if I zoom in here,
yeah,
this is the spine. Now, this is a default book. It's 20 pages. I wouldn't do a 20 page. I wouldn't do a 20 page book like this. A 240 page book, you're going to have an amazing spine. Okay, so I'm going to.
But also, can I just add there on the spine? If you do 100 pages and you do the spine at 100 pages, and then you do 240 pages, the spine will shift and shrink with the number of pages you're putting into your book. So yeah, so it won't hold there. So if you so that's 240 pages. That's how wide it is. But if I was 100 pages, that's going to be half the thickness, and that will shrink as you are making your book, as you add pages in and take them out.
Oh, okay. This is a great question. It just came from Kent. How do you manage vertical portrait photos in a landscape format book?
Okay, so for me, I will look at the spread, and I tend to put them. I won't put them center of the left or right page. I'll probably move them slightly over to, so they're sitting in so if you think thirds, so sit in a third of the page, and it kind of sits there quite nicely. Don't put anything else on the page unless it complements the image, because most of the time it's going to uncomplement it, and you're going to be looking, as Dan showed you with that little round, spot on the side, is going to distract you. So yeah, just play around and see where the position feels like it breathes well. But I think a third on the page. Yeah.
So she just said something that I would love to put in all caps and like stamp on people, which is, she talked about taking a vertical image and on a let's say a landscape page to moving it towards the outside so that it's like kind of rule of thirds on the page. And then she said, don't put anything else on the page unless it complements the image. And I think I see way too many books with way too many objects on each page. And the viewer, when they turn the page, their eye starts to go like this. And that's not what you want. Ann's books are beautiful and powerful because she's giving those images space to breathe, and they're simple. And when you turn the page, you have one thing, maybe two things total to look at.
Just looking for a vertical that I've got on this one, I think, which is.
So just quickly, Anna asked, will this webinar be available to watch again? Yes, it will be on the Blurb YouTube channel. So you can watch it as many times as you want. Let's see. Is there a quick guide that reminds you what you need to write for a photo book, titles, copyright, ISBN?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Just one thing, the reason that I kind of knew where I was heading, I'm just going to show them the Spirit book that I published. So this is a book that I published on Creative New Zealand Woman. And I did this at the same time I was doing all my other, my travel books. And when I was doing this one, that's where I learned a few bits and pieces about ISBNs and stuff like that. But what I'd suggest is just have a look at books. Books have all the information. Every book has a standard element of ISBN numbers, copyrights, all that sort of stuff. And so work out what you want to say, and then put that in place. But you can, I'm sure there is. I'm sure you can Google it. I'm sure with AI, it's going to be very easy.
And also, Nadine, what I was mentioning earlier, if you Google front matter, photo book front matter, and photo book back matter, it will give you a list of what is most commonly associated with those things. When it comes to ISBN and copyright, I have mixed feelings about that, because the simple fact is with copyright, it is nice to put it in there. If your work is not registered, this is how it is in the US. I'm not sure around the rest of the world. If the work is not registered with the Copyright Office, you have far less standing. I'm not opposed to putting copyright information in there. I just don't want you to put it so prominently that it distracts from the actual flow of the book and also the work itself. So that's the kind of thing that you want to tuck somewhere. You can tuck it in the back to me, which is a good place to put it. But I think things like introductions, essays, dedications, those things can be really important. Historically with photo books, and this happened to me when I was approached by publishers back in 2007, they said, hey, we saw this body of work you did. We want to publish this with you, but...
Oh, we've just lost Dan for a second there. Dan, you're frozen on screen. If you can hear me, you are dead in the water. Okay, so while Dan's frozen there, I might just have a look and see what else.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're back. Good.
I'm back, thankfully. I was like, did I do that? And so I would just Google front matter photo book, back matter photo book, and that'll put you on the right page. So
yeah. Jimmy's just asked a question of how many proof books do you average after you hit order the first time? I did a couple that were hard covered and didn't like them, so it took me, and I printed them, and then when I got the flow of this one, I ordered one book, knew I was happy with it, and then I started to flow onto the rest. So I think it depends on the project, because you might be doing one so it's perfect, so I would do one, order it, but take your time. Just keep coming back to the project, and kind of, don't be pressured to, Dan's going to hate me saying this, don't be pressured to print too quickly, but you want to print them so you can see them. But I say that because if you're doing a big travel book, you want to get all those elements right. So, but
and also
definitely print. So, and
also Jimmy's a longtime friend. So hi, Jimmy. I just texted him last week about South Africa, of all things. The other thing, Jimmy, to know, I think one of the things that's a little, first of all, great question about proof books or test books. This is oftentimes kind of a misunderstood thing. So if you think about the creative world in general, whether it's painting or writing, whatever, very rarely, if ever, does anything happen perfectly. I use that in quotes, perfectly the first time. It all comes through revision.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've found that gets people to hesitate is if you're designing, let's say that Ann was designing a 240-page 8x10 softcover. She doesn't have to print a 240-page 8x10 softcover as her proof. She can print a 20-page softcover. So print a 20-page softcover with, like Ann, we just looked at it. She has sort of muted tone work from the Middle East. She has more contrasty work from Southeast Asia or the Solomon Islands. And so we don't know how exactly what that's going to look like. So why not take an assortment of all the work she has, put it in a 20-page softcover, and then print it on 2 or 3 different kinds of paper to see which paper is going to be best. That's, to me, the smart way to do proof books.
Or the other thing is use the cheap copy paper. Use the cheap paper because it's not as expensive.
Yep.
And do a proof book. And then you can go, yes, because you want to put it on the luster. But yeah. Just do 20-page softcover things. Okay.
Next question. I wondered, do you usually include a photo on the back cover? And that's from R. Miller 241. On the Insta.
Depends on who you are. Me, definitely. So that's the back cover. That's the front cover. And that's the back cover. So for my photo books, I definitely have, and also I've got an ISBN on the back, which is assigned. You can either do that yourself, you can get an ISBN number, or I've just got Blurb to assign me an ISBN number. They're all the same. So, but that's your choice. You might want to have a blank back and it might have something else on it. So use books around you to get some inspiration. Have a look at what other people are doing.
So the next question is, Ann, what size are those books you made? I missed it.
You know that one. It's the standard landscape, I think I am.
Standard landscape?
Yeah, just the standard landscape. Yep.
8x10 soft cover standard landscape with the premium luster paper.
Yep.
All right. What do we got next? You want me to read these? I'll read it. Talk about whether you incorporate text, captions, etc. Also, how important is it to your finished product to identify places, people, details on the page itself, or perhaps in endnotes? And that's from Matalo.
Okay. For me, not important. What's important for me is the images and a generality around it. But you may produce something and you want to put all that detail in. I think it really depends on the person that's putting the book together. So
one of the things that I consistently hear is that people will come and say, quote, I know I have to do X. I know I have to do captions. I know I have to do page numbers. You don't. You don't have to do any of those things. So it's really, again, you're trying to hone this object to demand undivided attention. So if Anne starts putting page numbers and captions on everything, it's a bit much. It's a bit distracting. So I like her simple, clean approach to presenting the work. Another from Mata, this is discuss file format and resolution.
Does it come? I think it's got a standard with suggestion with yeah, or JPEG, but I think the file size, I kind of look, you take the standard landscape and it tells you what size you're going to be. So you want your images to be big enough. The beauty of BookWright as well is that if you put a image in there and it's not the right resolution, when you come to the end of the book or you're about to do something, it has a whole page that comes up with resolutions that you have to resolve. So you just go back into Lightroom or wherever your images are and put a higher resolution in there. So it'll tell you, so it won't go to print unless you've said, yes, print it at this resolution, if it's a lower resolution, but it'll tell you you need to import it and put it into a bigger resolution. So, yeah. And
typically what I do is if it's an 8x10 book, my images are at least 8x10 in size, but I typically err on the larger size because of what we did with her picture from the Middle East of running it double truck across both pages. And to Anne's point, you'll see a little warning sign up in the upper right-hand corner of the frame. And when you click on it, it will say this image is too low resolution. And so you don't want the software to have to interpolate things up for you. So I always err making my images a little bit larger than I think I'm going to need them.
Yeah.
When do you choose left or right page when only one page has a photograph?
It depends on how I feel. I put it in there and go, how does it feel? And does it work being there? Or you might be in the middle of the book and you've got lots of images in there and you go, no, I need space to be on this side because I've put a lot of single images on the right-hand side. So this needs to break it up and go on the left-hand side. So again, trust how you feel when you're putting something together. I think it's gone are the days that there's absolutely strict guidelines. Look, I don't have graphic design background. I kind of wish I did. I think it will probably make it easier for what I see and do. But I've now, from being a photographer, you go by how you feel. And if it feels like it needs to be on the left-hand side when you're flicking through, manage your pages, and it feels like that should be on the right-hand side, move it to the right, see how it feels. It really is that simple.
And also, Dan, remember back to when we were designing the book a minute ago, and she had the image of the guy in the rice paddy, and he's walking from frame left to frame right. That photo is weighted left-hand side. You want him walking into the spread. You don't want him walking off the page. So in something like that, that will dictate which side. But I think Anne's point is totally valid of, if you have all these other things on one side and you're like, I need a break and need to shift something over, it's when you hit manage pages and you look at that flow, you're going to feel where it fits or where it doesn't fit. So I think that's a really good point. All right. When would you keep the landscape aspect or zoom in to fill the square?
That's a good question. Again, this is play around and see if it looks better as a square or looks better as landscape. It might be that there's detail on the left or the right-hand side that don't add to the image. So try it as a square. Again, you might be doing a layout and you think, do you know what? This page needs a square. So you put a square, put a square image in there. And sometimes that breaks it up as well. So,
So yeah, that's when do you choose softcover versus hardcover when you have, let's say, 100 pages?
I'd still go with softcover. And the reason I go with softcover is that you can do this with it. I've done the hardcovers. I think they're downstairs in storage. I personally prefer softcovers because I don't know, they're just more palatable for me. But then you might like to have a hardcover. So again, you might want to print one of each, which is what I did. I had 3 hardcovers, and I realized that I wanted to have a soft cover. And also with my white borders, I like that. I think hardcovers, I did wraparounds for the hardcovers. So that's a different.
And I think
cat in the background.
Yeah, somebody wanted you to introduce your cat, but I think before you introduce the cat, the hardcover, softcover thing will depend on the project, the story, and also the goal of the book, because especially if you're selling the books, a lot of times people equate hardcover with being more valuable. It's more expensive, it's a little fancier.
No.
But there's a beautiful informality to the softcover that's approachable for a lot of people who might not necessarily be like professional photo people.
Look, I'll come back to this one. This is a softcover.
Wow.
And it's a big book. It's a big photographic book. It was on Creative Woman in New Zealand. And we debated that as well. One thing about this, which ties into doing Blurb books, when we came to publish this book, and we published this one so it's sold throughout stores in New Zealand, we went into a bookshop and we looked at books on the shelf, and we looked at spines, and we looked at covers, and we said, what speaks to us? What do we need to be aware of for doing this book? And then we said, we want people to be able to sit in bed and read the book. It's much easier to read a soft cover than a hardcover. So those were the considerations that we put around publishing.
So I think we're getting close to the end of the show here. And I wanted to mention again, first of all, thank you to everyone that's been on here. There's a million questions we didn't get to. Hi, Mason. Another longtime friend here asking questions about proofing. There's a million things we haven't gotten to. I want to say thanks to everybody who came here, but also remind you too about the code. TravelBook30 is the code that's going to give you 30% off for the next month. And here's my recommendation. Don't try to make War and Peace tomorrow. Tomorrow, I want you to make like Archie comic books. Just take that 30% code.
Yep.
Make a 20-page soft cover something, and just get started, because it is so addictive when these books show up on your doorstep. I don't care how many times you've done this. When the doorbell rings and you open it and there's a package with a book inside, it is freakishly enjoyable. But here's the thing too. If you haven't done this before, chances are that book's not going to be perfect. It's okay.
Yep.
There's no such thing as a perfect book. Have fun, enjoy it. And at some point when we all grow up, we can be like Anne.
Thanks, Dan.
It was well, thank you so much for being here and doing this. We've had a couple of conversations offline outside of being on a public call. We have so much to talk about, and I think your work's fantastic. I love your website, and I've made a lot of books, but I'm jealous of the series of books that you have put together. I wish I had them.
Thanks, Dan. Look, can I just say it's been a pleasure connecting with you as well. I mean, Dan's a hugely successful commercial photographer in his own right, and the stories that we've sat down and talked about, him and I could talk forever. He's a gem of a human being, and so well suited to being in this role with Blurb. So yeah, and all I can say is, if you've got travel images on your hard drive, get them off, get them into a Blurb book, publish them. You will feel so good about it. It's just, it's a lovely record of what you've done from travel, and we don't do enough print. I just think we're in such a digital age that having something that you can pick up and flick through and remind yourself of where you've been and show others. I've had people come over and pick up these books, and I thought they'll just flick through them. I've had to interrupt them because they want to go from cover to cover and look at every image. And the Africa stuff, our builder here, he said, I've been on the same trip. And so he got to relive the trip looking through my images. So just do it. And look, hook up with me on Instagram if you have any questions. Really happy to respond. So it's a good place to just connect, and I just want to get people printing. So yeah.
You and me both.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Again, thanks to everybody. We're going to have this on the YouTube channel, and don't forget to use the code. You got 1 month to use it, and we will be back next month with another program and subsequent programs throughout the rest of the year. So much appreciated. And Ann, thanks again for taking the time to be with us.
You're welcome. Thank you, Dan. I really appreciated it.
No problem.
Cool.